47 of Shared Discovery, the show and podcast dedicated to sharing the many exciting and enjoyable aspects of games and gaming. I'm your host, Victor. Today, I'm once again joined by Ron. Ron, how you doing?
Good, Victor, good. Just got new glasses, so...
Looking good, looking shiny. A lot of reflection. You can do the anime villain push. I guess it's not just villains. It's just like smart guy thing.
Yeah, glasses dude.
Glasses dude.
Every anime has a glasses dude.
Yeah, where the glare shines and they get their evil idea or inspiration. I'm digging it. I'm digging the look.
Yeah, but how about you, Victor? How are you doing today?
Pretty great. We're on holidays. Got some time off working.
Good.
So that's always a great time. Got more time to play games. What games have you been playing lately?
Oh, man. I've been revisiting older stuff lately.
Oh, hitting the backlog?
Yeah, kind of just like, oh, I've heard about this. Let me see how that's like. And it's been all right. Playing Morrowind, it's completely different from Skyrim.
It is world apart.
Just unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Almost.
That's good, because we were talking in our 30 years, 30 episode.
Yeah. 30 episodes, 30 years.
30 games.
30 games, hey.
Yes. You were saying you're going to revisit that, so what's been standing out to you? Does it hold up?
If you like reading, it does.
That's true.
Otherwise, no. No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
There's none of the conveniences or nice things that come with modern video games.
Yeah, I remember trying to play that when I was like 9 or 10, and I would never read the quests. You have to, so never knew what to do. So I just hop around, getting my acrobatics up, just watching that go up. I'm like, yes, this is the game. Trying to fight guards, dying. Trying to fight crab, dying.
Yes.
So I probably would enjoy it better now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, don't go looking for like an adrenaline high or anything, is my advice.
Okay.
It's not like fast action like Skyrim where you're like whipping spells.
Just like a nice slow book.
Methodical. Yeah, book.
Yeah.
Book. That's a great way of describing it.
Books have action scenes sometimes. Yeah. Depending on what you're reading.
Really?
Okay, that's cool. That's cool that you went back to revisit that. I'm actually playing Bayonetta right now. That's what we talked about in that episode. It's hard. It's a hard game, right? Yeah. No, it's hard. I got to level 9, chapter 9, and I'm like, this is stupid. This is impossible. And Savannah, she's raging more than I am watching me play this.
Yeah.
She goes on Reddit, and there's so many Reddit posts like, this is the worst designed game, level, chapter in any Bayonetta game. Oh. I'm like, oh man, okay, I feel that. It's hard. Like, it's really hard. They have this mission where you protect your body.
Okay.
You go into this bubble, and then you protect your body while you're in the spirit realm or whatever. And that's the only way you can hit the enemies is while you're in that spirit realm. Okay. But you only have 5 hits. So if your body gets hit 5 times, the mission is over. And it's 3 minutes. You have to defend your body.
Oh my God.
And to get into that spirit form, you can go in and out. It's like a 3-second animation to put yourself down, and then they're already back to you. So you sprint across the map, try to put your body in a good position, do the animation, and they're already back. So you just have to button mash so hard. Like, you have to bounce around, like, knock this one back, knock this one back, knock this one back. And you have to be really good at the game. Like, this is hard. We thought this was a good idea. And that was just a side mission for the chapter. So you get to the actual chapter. It's just BS stuff. Like, there's this giant orb that will just follow you around the map and crush you at random times. Like, why is this a thing?
Oh Lord!
So it's wild. It's been a great time,
but it's difficult.
But it's a hard one. So
platinum games for you, man.
Man, they did not hold hands, and it feels so bad too because they do a trophy system, like a medal system, depending on how well you perform in each level, and then at the end of each chapter, they give you a trophy on how well you performed at the end overall. I'll move past Bayonetta, but it feels so bad because I keep getting these stun trophies, which is the lowest you can get, and it's a stone statue of the meme character in the game, like falling over. I'm like, way to rub it in, game. Jeez.
It just reminds me of like a lot of other Japanese action fighting games where like they're so hard and they don't care about your emotions or your feelings. They rub it in.
That is the best way to describe it, because that's like the replay value in the game, is that you lose a bunch, you come back, then you get the golds and the platinums.
Earn it.
You earn it. Like, okay, but this is a game I want to play one time, just to experience it.
Like there's a game called God Hand where the better you're doing in the game, it's like Bayonetta where it's like an action game. But the better you're doing in the game, the harder it gets and the only way to bring the difficulty down is to either fail, get beat up a bunch, or you can just beg.
Interesting.
And like to the enemies and be like, oh, have mercy on me, like grovel, and it lowers the difficulty.
That's so interesting. It sounds familiar. I think I was listening to a speedrunning podcast. It may not have been this exact game, but there are mechanics in games where you can manage the difficulty by being bad.
Yep.
So the speedrunners will do a purposeful amount of bad to make the run easier. So that sounds exactly like that.
I love that mechanic
Just
too. It's so
grovel.
clever. Yeah, just please don't hurt me.
Please.
And the demons go, oh, okay. We'll take it easy on you.
I'll chill. I like that. But speaking of replayability, right? That seems like a nice segue to what we're actually talking about today.
I think so.
Today we're talking about video games that never get boring, which is going to be wrapped up a lot in replay value, right? What keeps you coming back to a game? How do you play it for a long time, right? So we're going to talk about games that we think never get boring, genres, mechanics, features that also keep these games interesting.
Right.
But we always have to do a little bit of housekeeping at the top of the hour. So you out there, I see you, listener, I hear you. I'm in your house cleaning it right now. Make sure you go to YouTube. Check us out. We have, by the time this is out, we'll have a couple of D&D episodes, gameplay episodes up on the YouTube channel. So check us out there at Shared Discovery. You can also check us out on Instagram to see our schedule. We're going to be doing some streaming here soon. We're going to post the schedule there. We got some fun plans for that. I think we're going to play Resident Evil first.
Yes.
I've never played it before, a Resident Evil in my life. I've barely touched horror games, so it'll be fun to have an expert with me to guide me through that.
As much as anyone can be an expert at Resident Evil, yes, they're bonkers. They're ready.
Why? I've seen the movies. I don't know how well that translates to the games.
True to spirit, maybe not to form.
Okay.
But,
I hope it's not to form.
No.
So yes, Instagram, same place, Shared Discovery. Shared Discovery Show, I think it is over there. But if you want to get a more direct route to us, to our home, you can email us at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail.com.
That's right.
So that house is probably clean. Their house is probably clean. So let's get into this. But let's start with an intro question.
Hit me with it.
Transition, right?
You got
What
it.
game do you keep going back to?
Oh, man.
Off the dome. What's
Off
the
the
first one
dome.
that popped into the head when I asked you that?
Europa Universalis 4. I don't like how much this comes up. But, yeah, it's
Keeps you coming back.
for some reason, I think it's an addiction at this point.
Okay.
It's starting to affect my life.
So what I wanted to do with this question is keep the game that we reference.
Okay.
Use that to go back to when we talk about the mechanics and stuff. But if you don't want to talk about it, EU4, we can pick a different.
Let's unpack some
We'll
stuff.
unpack some stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, the game that I want to dive into, I was thinking about doing World of Warcraft, but we have a World of Warcraft game coming up, episode coming up.
Yeah.
Soon. So I think the game that I will keep reference for this episode is Terraria.
Good choice. Good choice. That's like every time the weather gets bad, it's time to play Terraria again.
It literally is.
Yeah.
Every year since it released, I've gone back and done a playthrough.
Man.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And it's also because the developers are always dumping out new content. So, not a Terraria episode, not a Bayonetta episode.
Not a
Let's
World of Warcraft.
get into it. Not a World of Warcraft. This is just games in general that are not boring.
No.
that are so fun. You have to replay them over and over. But we have a disclaimer. What's our disclaimer, Ron?
What someone finds fun about gaming is subjective, but these are common reasons we found for people coming back to games. Right, so it's not inclusive, maybe. Probably not going to hit on everything because that would take too long. But it's stuff we've noticed or stuff we've found and reasons that we think,
Exactly. And so these are generalizations. If you don't agree with all of them,
it's fine.
it's totally fine.
They're generalizations.
Yeah, I like to reference real people with these, right? It's kind of like my own interviews in a way. That's how I use Reddit, and this is how people actually feel about it. It's not true research, but in a way it's like pseudo research, right? This is how people are actually feeling. It's kind of like filling out a questionnaire.
Yeah, picking somebody out of the crowd, being like, "Sir, you on the street, walking down. What do you feel about Bayonetta?"
You, lasagna is cool. What do you feel about this?
Right.
And then we'll hear from lasagna is cool. Don't worry. But
Don't worry.
I got some definitions here at the top of the hour, Ron. So the reason I have these 4 definitions is because this is the common thread I saw as I went through these Reddit posts. So we got novelty, freshness, newness, originality. These were the things that people said over and over. That's what keeps them playing a game long. So novelty, the quality of being new, original,
Unique.
or unusual. Yes, unique. Freshness, the quality of being pleasantly new or different. The operative word there, pleasantly, right? That's what keeps us coming back. Newness, the quality of being new or original. That's just like a lesser definition of novelty as I'm seeing it. These are all synonyms, right? Originality, the quality of being novel or unusual. I just feel like I just read the same thing over and over, but I wanted to get these 4 words here so you can get this in your brain as we go through these reasons. It's like a newness, freshness, originality, uniqueness. All of these things are very important for the people that have these long play times in games.
Okay, novelty, freshness, newness. Got it.
And I think we'll probably see that in the games that we reference today too, as we go through them.
I certainly hope so.
We'll see. And newness will take different forms too, as we'll see. But I got a quote here that I really liked at this top of the hour that represents a lot of this from Nariz1234 on Reddit. And they say, in short, replayability is set accordingly to how much the experience can change from playthrough to playthrough. The more diverse, the more replay value.
I couldn't have said it better,
Very
honestly.
good. Just an expert.
Diversity breeds replayability and more flavor, more.
And the amount of change and diversity. And we're going to see that in these mechanics as we go through them here. And so, first one here we have, it has interactive depth, and there are different ways to play the game. So, this means that there are rule sets that allow for more gameplay possibilities and actively encourage exploring these possibilities will have a more lasting impact.
So you're telling me meaningful choices, like interactive, like different ways of playing are good. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah?
I think that keeps you coming back for a while.
That makes sense.
Because you want to experience all of these different ways to play.
Right.
Think back to our BioShock episode. You've said you've played that game multiple times.
Multiple different ways.
In multiple different ways.
Yeah.
And that's a well-designed game too, right?
I think so. It's like how Skyrim has the class system. Like a lot of RPGs have class systems. You can see that as a lot of different ways.
Absolutely, and that's a really good segue, and we can wrap that in. But the next point we have is different builds and different classes and weapons. Right?
One of my favorite parts of any game is different builds.
It's like, okay, what is the build and how am I going to play this time?
If I can be a wizard, I'm in every time.
The question I had for you on this is, what is the build? What would that look like? The word build for a game like EU4, Europa. How do I say that?
It'd be just like your overall strategy. Because I think that's what build translates to, right?
Yeah.
Is like in Skyrim or an RPG, like you're looking for certain skills or attributes or levels where you get perks or abilities that modify your play style.
Yeah.
Same with like weapons in the world. It's like the strategy. So like, oh, am I going for an economic hegemony type, or am I going to dominate my immediate neighbors and then challenge the great powers? Or like, it's your way of going about things in the world, right?
So the translation for build is
strategy.
For what are the real-time strategy games?
Or, turn-based, or
right?
whichever.
Okay.
It could be argued that EU4 is both technically, but is actually turn-based because it has a real-time element, but also it's like ticks, like, and you could argue that those ticks are a turn.
Okay.
So each tick every day that goes by is a turn, and you get.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. So it's kind of a yes and.
Right. Time as a mechanic is weird.
That's
sometimes.
a weird mechanic for sure. So that's really interesting. So for those style of games, I don't play them a lot, but that is what that is build, and it will be as your strategy. And each time you play, you can pick another strategy.
Right. Like the horse lords aren't going to operate the same as like the Venetian Republic of merchants.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to have completely different mechanics and strategies and objectives they're going for.
Yeah. And so for me, going back to my game, we have Terraria. And when I think of builds, since I come from this RPG background, it's like different items, different talent points. Where am I allocating my skills?
Exactly.
Skill points, things like that. So Terraria, they have very distinct builds based on the armor you choose. So you have melee, caster, various melees. You have yo-yos and swords, right? Different types of melee builds. Boomerangs, you also have is considered melee. You have rangers, summoners, and so I play a different way each time. And I go back.
Same with EU4. Like you could argue that playing as Austria as a summoner because you capture all these little countries.
Interesting.
And you vassalize them, so then they fight for you, and you don't even have to use your country's manpower or soldiers because they're doing it for you. Like there's so many ways to play in strategy games, and like EU4 especially, that it's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
So this kind of back to our interactive depth.
Yes.
Like infinitely deep ocean right
as
there.
deep as you want to go, essentially.
Holy. And so if we back up a little bit to the different ways to play, the games that were referenced a lot in this Reddit post, which I don't think I read the title of. So what makes a game replayable? Highly check it out. I highly recommend checking out a super interesting post there. But they referenced the games with stealth elements. Like Dishonored.
That happens a lot.
Deus Ex, Hitman.
Yeah, I can't remember the genre descriptor. It's not even probably a real genre, but it's like it's something simulation. It's these types of games, the Dishonored, Deus Ex, Prey, the new Prey, not the old Prey, Hitman, where you can interact in the world more freely. It's like almost simulationist, right?
Because I know they describe them a lot like sandboxes. Is that the term you're thinking? Maybe not the exact term you're thinking of.
It's similar along those lines, but yeah, like a real like deep sandbox, like Thief, where you're a thief, but it goes like you can do all of these incredible things to fill in the role of being a thief. Okay. Same with Deus Ex, like you are this like special agent for the United States government and all the things that go along with that in a transhumanist reality, right? Okay. So you get like different powers and different weapons and tools, and you can just talk the bad guys into giving up because they're all like idealists and stuff.
That's super cool, right? So it's like it's kind of like interactive role playing in a way. Like you're getting into that role from like the combat mechanics to the character. Super interesting. Yeah. And then for me, of this list, I've played Dishonored. Oh, nice. And Dishonored is the one where, you can stealth, you can go full-on combat, you can use powers and gadgets, try alternate pathing, climbing, crawling, exploring.
And the game changes based on your approach to the game as well. The more killing you do, the more depressing and dark and like evil the world becomes. And same with if you avoid killing, it stays more cheery and bright. There's less rats running around. Like the whole world playing along with you in the game, I feel like is another big part of it too.
That's really cool. Yeah. That really makes you want to go back. Because if you did just, I'm going to kill everything, I get the pretty dark ending. let me go back and kill less people. Let me go back and kill no people and see what that ending
See
looks
what
like.
happens, yeah.
I really like that. And for me, I was telling you a story beforehand where I was trying to do a pacifist run.
Yeah.
Talking about this in the pre-show where I was trying to do a pacifist run. And the first person of interest, I had my tranq dart ready. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to shoot him. He'll pass out. It'll be fine. The guards will go get help, or I can tranq them too. I miss the guy, hits the table. It scares him. He falls over, stabs himself somehow, and then I lose my pacifist run. I'm like, I didn't do it. No.
He fell on his own sword.
But it also popped up success. I was like, okay, I guess I completed the mission.
Still counts.
Still counts. And so that is like a dynamic, evolving world. There's a word for it in games that game designers are trying to really develop more recently, where these like worlds that respond to you and
Like reactive,
yeah,
right?
something
Reactive
like
worlds,
that.
reactive open worlds. Because that's something that I've been really interested in lately too. Like with replaying all of these RPGs and like Morrowind and stuff, and like we could have so many reactive elements to the world, but there's this like game design trend where it's like, oh, if nobody's gonna see, if not a lot of players are gonna see it, then why make it?
Yeah.
So you have really super linear. You see those like Fallout 4 and
Yeah.
Skyrim is really linear too, but it like hides it well, in that like all of the dungeons are straight lines, but like, you know, and then you look at like Baldur's Gate 3, and if you just play once through, you're gonna miss 90% of the content.
Yes. Oh man, maybe I should have used that as my reference for this episode. Because holy cow, I just finished Act 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm missing everything.
Yeah.
Because you wanna save scum.
Yes.
So you can see more things. So I said, nope, that's more playtime that I'm ruining. Let me do another playthrough later.
That's these games. That's Dishonored, Deus Ex.
And that really leads to our next point that we have here: different dialogue choices. That's a really smooth transition with Baldur's Gate 3 here.
Right.
And this usually comes in the form of the Telltale games or Life is Strange. We played that together. We tried to play a Telltale game after that, and we couldn't because we were stressed about the timers on answering the questions.
Because I think it was in Stranger Things, there weren't a lot of timers. There were just a few. And then Telltale was, every single choice was a timer.
Yeah, so like in Life is Strange, I remember the last decision of the game, we sat there for 15 minutes. And then we tried to play The Wolf Among Us. And every question was 10 seconds. Like, no.
Time's up.
Time's up. And that's an answer, though.
Yep.
No response is still an answer. So, oh, my God. This is so stressful. But there were like you said, a few times in Life is Strange, critical ones. For the majority of the game, you could sit there and think and ponder.
One of them absolutely traumatized me, where it just like keeps happening, and
Stop.
and you're like, no, I can't just keep watching.
That game that's perfect for replay value too, because that is what we're talking about. Each time if you're traumatized, I'll replay and do it a different way, right? I'll load a save, do it a different way.
And even just having knowledge after your first playthrough can completely change the context of a game. Like, I think, what was it? There was a Far Cry game where if you just, it was the one with Pagan Min, I think it was 4 or something like that. If he tells you just wait 5 minutes and he'll be right back. Yeah. And if you actually listen to him and wait 5 minutes, he actually does come back, and you like go party with him for a night, and that's one of the endings of the game.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, just the beginning of the game, you just sit there and listen to him torture.
Oh my God. That is wonderful. Like, that is so good. I love when developers put that in. Reward people like, okay, I'll listen.
Sure, why not?
Sure.
That's what would happen in real life, right? If you just stay there and
that has to be the speed run, right?
I think it is.
5 minutes. I love that so much. That is fantastic.
I've always loved that one.
That rewards going back to a game, and like you play the whole 50 hours of the game. Like, I'm gonna replay and listen to him this time.
Yeah. What? And I feel like it's a least obvious dialogue choice because it doesn't prompt you. It doesn't give you a choice.
It's just a guy. It's just a voiceover.
Just hang out.
You just think it's the opening cutscene. You're like,
Yeah,
well,
right.
obviously I'm not going to do this. I've played a Far Cry before.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know what this is
I don't know
about.
what this is about. Okay. Oh man, that's so cool. And then when games really make you excited about the things that happened, you're like, even if you know what's going to happen in the game, it's like, that game was great. I want to do it again.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I love that. That is fantastic.
Always finding new gems and everything.
And so, I mean, that leads to a point that we have later, but the next point we have here is different orders of gameplay.
Yeah.
And so the example that they gave here are bosses, being able to challenge bosses in different orders. So specifically Dark Souls 1 was the example that they gave here. It's just choosing which order of bosses that you want to face.
And I mean, you can. It's probably not the smartest thing to do, challenging bosses, but you can. Yeah, that's
So
an
you
option.
have the choice.
Totally.
And that choice is really good. The example that immediately popped into my head here is World of Warcraft, is choosing the starting zones and the path of leveling. Maybe I'm going to level this way purely by doing dungeons, or I'm going to go in the world and do this zone, and then this zone I haven't done before, and this zone I haven't done before, or this zone first with this zone I've done before. Maybe that'll change how I experience this new zone.
Man, I never thought of that before. Just having whole like areas and tracts of land that you can even choose from, like you'll never even experience whole.
Because the way that the game
realms.
is designed is that there are zones that are usually 10 level ranges, and so you finish that zone, you go to the next 10 level range. But there are about 4 to 5 of each of these 10 level range zones that you can quest through and experience new quests and new locations.
But you don't need all of them every single playthrough. You
Nope.
can just make do with like 1 or 2.
Exactly.
or-
Yeah. So you do this one. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this one of 4 on this playthrough. I'm gonna go to Westfall this time. Maybe later on, I'll do Lakeshire instead.
That's incredible. Like, imagine if they would have just instead been like, no, everybody gets the same zones, same 1 zones. Like, that would be nowhere near as
No,
interesting.
it would not have held up. And it would not have kept people coming back, which we'll talk about game addiction later. Don't you worry.
We'll touch on that.
We'll touch on that. So that's really the first thing that popped into my mind is the order of the content, choosing how you order. And even in Terraria, you can choose at the beginning of the game, there's a big choice of which of the first 3 bosses do I want to face.
Right.
So you have the twin. Now, the twins is in hard mode. You have the Eye of Cthulhu, you have the Destroyer of Worlds, and then you have Skeletron. And you can face them in any order that you want, and there are pros and cons to facing them in each of the orders. So you fight Skeletron, you get access to the dungeon, which can give you some gear that's huge. But you fight the other 2 first, you can get access. One of them gives you the stuff that you need to make a better pickaxe. Another one gives you the stuff that you combine with that to make better gear. So pros and cons and different ways to just, even in the beginning of Terraria, the first decisions you make.
They're already laying them on you,
Yeah.
fast and thick. Oh yeah.
Oh, the next one we have here is different characters to play. And this one comes in the form of things a lot in MOBAs, where new characters, new play styles are coming up a lot. But the one that we've played a lot is Risk of Rain 2.
And I feel like this overlaps a lot with the different builds and classes,
It
because
does.
it's essentially what a character is,
Yeah.
right? Like different abilities, different sets, different rule sets, and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Like, a character is going to play completely differently, so that's going to kind of function like a different build, right? So think about MOBAs. I played League of Legends a lot. Brand new character comes out, and you have to learn their whole kit, their passive, their ult, the
Figure it all out.
intricacies of how far is their basic attack, how much does this they scale with this gear.
Risk of Rain I like because each of the characters are so significantly different too.
Yes.
Like my favorite's the engineer because I don't have to play.
You just put turret build.
Just eat snacks and sit in my shield. Like
Turrets.
That's my way to play.
That's a fun one. And what I like about this too is that they do have distinct builds in those games in the term of items that you can get. So with this section of different characters,
Yeah,
same
you're
thing with
right.
League,
You're
you can
right.
use the same build and say, I'm going to use attack power, I'm going to use crit, but I'm going to play it on this character that plays differently and see how that functions.
And that's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Being able to mix those two together and come up with like tons of different combinations. I think of like Dawn, what is it? It's the
Grim Dawn.
Grim Dawn.
Yes.
How many combinations of classes?
So much replay value in Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn is an awesome example of this. It's an ARPG in the style of Diablo. Much better, I think. And they have a unique system. They have like a classless system from level 1. You're just an empty shell. And then level 2, you get to pick one of these 9 masteries, they call it. And then again, at level 10, you choose another one of those masteries. And then you have a 2 mastery build for the rest of the game. And there are 36 of these combinations to play through.
Heck yeah, which it's not exactly characters, but it is replayability.
Exactly. And that leads to so many builds and so many different synergies that come across 36 different combinations. And they actually have a DLC coming out for the first time in years. These next few months, that's adding another one. So there are going to be 45 combinations.
Good
Fantastic.
Lord. Yeah, absolutely fit. I love to see it. More is better.
Which transitions,
Excuse me again.
bless you, which transitions very well into our next point here, which is continuous new content.
Oh my Lord. This is one that's I don't know if it's a plague at this point. I think it's a plague at this point.
I think it's too much.
Constant new content for everything. Everything's got to be a live game, live service. Like it's even happened to EU4.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I've stepped away from it.
Really?
is the
Interesting. I thought that
continuous
was a
content.
self-contained game. Interesting.
No, it thrives on its expansions.
It does,
I would say
okay.
it was released incomplete, and then they've completed it through DLCs and expanding it, and then the DLCs are overpriced for what they are.
Naturally.
I'm not afraid to say it.
No.
Paradox, you're scummy.
Play the base game. Or don't play
Come
it.
at me.
Don't play. I don't Please, let's have an interview. We'd love to talk about it.
We'll play multiplayer. I have all the expansions. Just we'll be Steam friends.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
That'd
you
be-
get to use the expansions. If
Yes.
only the host has the expansions.
Okay.
Let's do
Interesting.
it.
Let's do it. That'd be so cool. We do an interview while you play with the devs of the game.
There you go.
Come on in,
Come
guys.
at me.
Let's do it.
I'll beat you. I'll play
But
as
we won't be
Florence.
that hostile.
No.
In the game, we will. But we'll be friendly.
course.
We'll be friendly.
It's about
interviewers.
imperialism.
So this actually, the continuous content comes up a lot in our episode on patches. So I had Chandler on. We talked about patches and updates, and that episode came about because Chandler, he's a retro gamer. He likes the cartridge games that have a self-contained experience, good or bad. That is the experience, and when it comes back to it, that's what it's going to be.
I love that as a concept. One of my favorites. Yeah, games should be done when you sell them, right?
I agree.
Right? Right?
That's the generation I grew up in.
Please, can we go back?
Finished games, please. And so, while we might disagree with it, I think there's a middle ground of new content sparingly.
Yeah, or like free updates.
Free updates.
Or like,
yeah. So, like Terraria, every 2 years for the past 12 years, I think. 2 to 3 years, they've had a major free content patch.
They keep saying it's the last,
They
but
keep
it's a
saying
lie.
they're doing it. It's so funny because people keep memeing on it, and I've heard them talk about it. We're gonna do a Terraria episode soon, but the devs have been saying for like half a decade at this point that they want to move on to Terraria 2, and then
Whatever that means.
and in an interview, he's like, "We want to make that game, but this game sells like hotcakes. It's still selling 600,000 copies a month."
What are you gonna do?
What
There's
are you gonna
new
do?
people born every second, and they don't have Terraria.
And exactly, it's the 9th best-selling game of all time, and it's because of this new content. I think one of the big things is the new content and the new updates that they have.
Totally.
It's done in such a well way.
Everybody
such a
wishes
good-
they could do it that way.
It's now every month like League, every week sometimes like League with these
God,
MOBAs.
talk about addiction.
Oh, God, I've been there. That's one of my most played games, and I can't track how long I've played it, but I've played a lot in those 5 years I played. But this keeps people coming back. If you really love the core concept of the game, you want to keep coming back and trying the new characters, trying the new maps, trying the new builds, seeing what the patch had to do. What I liked about League 2 is like, okay, this new character came in and it was broken, so they had to nerf it and buff the character I like to balance it.
It always feels nice.
It feels nice, right? Oh, it's such a rush of endorphins too. It's like, okay, and learning. A lot of people, we talked about in that episode too, a lot of people love this style because they love the constant learning of using their brain of like, okay, I need to rework my internal construal and mental structures of how the game functions with this new broken character. They love that. They love tinkering with that. So it might not be for everyone, but continuous new content keeps people coming.
And it's great. It's just how they go about it in my mind.
I think that's good. And we could definitely do ethics, gaming ethics episode. I think we should at some point.
Eventually, we'll get to some ethics, my favorite.
Yeah, but we're finally to Lasagna's Cool's quote, and I would like you to read that, Ron.
Lasagna is cool, on Reddit says, not experiencing all the game offers in one play.
I think that really sums up a lot of why we keep going back to games. If you make a self-contained linear experience where they see everything, more than likely the person's not going to go back.
It's going to get old.
It's going to get old. So this really, I like this. This is short and sweet and summed up everything we've been talking about for the past 20 minutes. And back to Baldur's Gate, you said it here. It's like one playthrough, you probably see like 5% of the game, maybe 10%, if that.
Yeah, and tons of games are made that way.
And that's a good way because you'll want people to keep playing your games longer. If you have a good if you're on this high on the Steam charts, more people are going to see that and be like, oh, maybe I should try the game. Boom, it's awesome. But we needed to back up here because not every single reason that we have is about something new.
No.
Right. So I wanted to list on that and say there's things like challenge and difficulty, where that could be construed as new, right? If you turn up the challenge, that's a new experience for you, but not always. Sometimes you just want a game that's difficult.
Yeah.
And so Demon Chaser 27 says, the game has just enough difficulty to require thinking and effort, but not enough to be frustrating or create roadblocks. So enough challenge that they're feeling stimulated, but not hitting a wall, right? And so that's kind of like Bayonetta, Dark Souls, these games that are just hard and they say get good. The developers like that's a you problem. That's gonna alienate some people.
Oh yeah.
But there's some people that love that challenge and love overcoming it.
Yeah, like you said, it's just to each their own, you know? Everybody's got a different appetite.
Yeah, exactly. And so the word that I chose here was mastery. Players like to improve. Players like to master the thing that they really like. And so that's where this challenge comes in. All right, sheet one, Chuck.
Off it goes.
And so example they had here was Halo 2. And so that you can find the skulls, the Easter eggs, and then once you find those, you can unlock difficulty modifiers for the game. There's a legendary mode, and I've also put here speedrunners. Right? That is the fun for the game. It's just going fast and putting that challenge on the game.
Yeah,
because they're going to see the game. The game's not going to change for them.
No, it's done. It's over.
Done.
Right? Like
the thing that's going to change is their numbers are going to get lower and lower. But otherwise, the game is the same.
mastery.
Mastery is the concept here. So, and then for I also put PvP here because it puts into numbers, like in MOBA games on ranked ladders. You can see with a number, nice clean number, ELO, I think it usually is clean number of this is how good I am and this is how much I'm improving.
Exactly. Like what clearer way do you have of mastery than a ranked ladder of everyone against everyone?
Exactly. And I did it at times, but I always got stressed. So I don't
It's
think
stressful.
I don't think the challenge and the mastery was as important to me as like different builds, characters. But super fun. The next thing we have, that was a big. The next thing we have is an overall great story.
This is important for gamers like me who like that's one of the reasons why I game is story. I played Planescape Torment and like Morrowind, like novels, right?
Yes.
I'm playing novels. Like this one's huge for me. Is the writing has to be good. If the writing's not there, I'm not there.
I think this really is a new development for me
Ooh.
in games, where it mostly was the mechanics, the gameplay that was really important. But I think what shifted this for me were actually the Divinity Original Sin games.
Yeah.
This was a shift for me of, oh, I actually care what's happening. I should pay attention.
Those ones have some really fun stories.
They're so super interesting. And so now I've been playing games that are just all like, that's what you're here for. Think about BioShock. That's what you're there for. And so we have here, it's like a great movie. It's always fun to replay a great game. And that's why I say that change isn't always important. Because think about movies. Movies are always the same, but people rewatch them all the time.
All the time.
Because they feel good.
And you can always catch new things too.
True,
I feel like
true,
there's
true.
something with depth. There's always
Yeah.
going to be something new to find.
Absolutely. I was watching an episode of a YouTube video of a breakdown of The Truman Show.
Nice. Love that movie.
There are so many little Easter eggs,
Everywhere.
so many crammed into that movie. So yeah, that's something new you can see too every time you watch a movie. So, Life is Strange is a great story. This is the one. Maybe that was the game that shifted it for me because I played that, but can't remember if I played that or Divinity first. But one of those two.
Yeah.
Multiple endings, so stories that. Games that have a lot of endings. Baldur's Gate 3 has over 17,000 endings.
Right, and Life is Strange may not care about all the decisions you make, but it cares about enough to like kind of trick you, or like there are actual decisions like ending there.
Yes, that was a hard decision. Took us 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then we're finally like, okay, we got to make one.
Yep.
We know what we're here for.
We know what we're here for.
We know what we're here for.
What have we been saying the whole time?
So listen to yourselves as you play these games.
Listen to your heart.
I think overall, this next point summarizes it, though, is it has to be an enjoyable experience for you.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means for you, it has to be enjoyable. And so I actually have this quote here. I don't know how to pronounce their name, so I'm sorry, a Reddit user that absolutely listens to our show.
Yeah, we know you're a fan, and we're sorry in
I
advance.
think it's Akane. I'm going to go with that. No, there's no N.
No.
Akea.
You're fiction, man.
Yeah, I added an N. But anyway, they say, I disagree with all of this. It has to give you something different for each playthrough to be replayable option. If playing through a game feels good, you'll want to play it again. I don't care if it has 0 changes in subsequent playthroughs. If you can rewatch a movie, you can replay a game. The important thing is for the experience to be good enough to want to go through it again. Doom is an infinitely replayable experience, for example.
Right, and I totally agree with this. Like, Pathologic is a great game, but it's miserable, so I'll never play it again. But, like, you know, BioShock, incredible. Constantly replaying it.
Yes.
Constantly replaying it. There's builds, and there's story, and there's always new things to discover.
Absolutely. And I really like what this person says. It was a nice, contradiction or opposite, devil's advocate to what the whole post was saying. It's, I need new, I need novelty.
Yeah, cult of the new.
And he said, that's good.
That's
But
fine.
it's not necessary. If the game is good, the story is good, you'll want to experience it again.
Yeah, if you like that Alice in Wonderland platforming game, like, by all means, enjoy it. You won't see me there, but,
But if you enjoy the mechanics, you like the game, that is what is most important for replay value here, right? I think my most played game, Gotcha Force, the beat 'em up monster robot collector for the GameCube, I just enjoy the mechanics so much, and I've seen the whole story, I've seen the whole thing. The only difference is me improving or me playing different characters. But that's still different, but it's still the same thing every time. But I really, really enjoy the mechanics. And so something else I put here is that the game is comfortable and familiar.
I was just thinking about forever games, or games that people will just continuously on and off play through their life. Like I feel that way about Magic the Gathering, where like I'll always be playing Magic, but I won't always be playing Magic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's always in the background.
For sure.
Sometimes it's in the foreground, but I feel that way about like EU4, like Paradox games in general. It's like, these are my forever games. I'm in no rush to play these because they're always there, they're always good, they're always replayable, they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And I can just like get a beer, sit down, play some Crusader Kings, assassinate someone's wife, like just have a good time. You know?
I really like that. That's a good definition for this episode. Forever games, and that really hits for Terraria.
Evergreen.
For me, every time I go evergreen. Green sweater here for you podcast listeners. Green coat.
That's what I'm pointing at.
That's what I'm pointing at. So for me, you know, I will build my house differently. I'll build in a different biome. I'll do a different build, but it's always comfortable to go back. I know these boss fights. I know the build track.
Done it a million
times, but it's just easy because you don't always want to think about what's new. Sometimes that turns me off games because I'm like, I have to learn all of these acronyms and these symbols and these mechanics. So new can actually be overwhelming.
Yeah, especially if it's a complicated game on top of that. So you're like, not only do you have to new rule set, it's a deep one, a pool that I don't have time for that.
Yeah, that happened to me with Grim Dawn.
Oh,
I actually turned off a lot for that because we played a much simpler Diablo 3 first. I was like, let me try this, but they have so many. The mechanics are much deeper and the affixes are much deeper. And I was like, okay, this is a lot. But then I learned it. I'm like, okay, this is fun. I know what I'm looking for now. It just was a learning curve. So sometimes you just want familiar. And overall, the game has to be quality. It's got to be well made. I've fallen off games because they're just broken, even if it's fun to play. Like the new Pokemon games, they were fun. I had a fun time playing, but they're broken. They do not put money in it. You just fall through the world. You just break sometime. It's laggy. Like, this should not come out in 2022.
Yeah.
So I just had to put that down because it was, while a fun experience and an experience that I've been looking for with the series for a while, it's just broken. It just made me mad.
Man. Yeah, maybe Paradox games aren't the best then. Because they're always breaking them constantly. There's always permanent bugs and broken things in them that are never going away. There's nothing you can do about it. Like,
that's definitely it.
My conflict.
I know. I played it for a long time, but I was like, there are better made games. And from the highest grossing game franchise of all time, why am I playing this? So for me, this is really important. I saw this for other gamers too. It's got to be a quality game.
Quality game. Whatever that means to you.
Whatever that means to you, right? And so next we have player versus player games. PvP. So I put this here because these include a lot of what we've been talking about. So PvP games offer a lot of these features, and what a lot of people said is that adding that human element to playing against them adds virtually infinite replayability.
Yeah, it'll even make games that you think are bad good because people are using those mechanics in a way that's like, interesting or unfounded or, novel.
There's always going to be novelty if new players are coming into the game and getting a fresh look at it.
Yeah, like for the longest time, what was it? Valve games, like games based on like Counter-Strike and stuff, like Zombie Master Mod, or there was one where there's an invisible zombie with like zombie modes and all this, and like all these remixes of the same old thing over and over and over.
Yeah, and I found that even when playing League, the same patch and nothing for a while, I could play over and over because these people would play differently. They would have different skill levels. They would make me have to change the way that I play every single game. Yep. You can't get that with the AI.
No, you really can't.
Emergent gameplay. That's the word that we were trying to think.
Emergent.
Emergence. The game is adapting to how you're playing and changing. They can create an engine that's emerging to.
And that's like impossible, arguably impossible to make. And that's why people are so amazing.
so
You
important.
can never predict what people are going to do next.
These games have challenge, mastery, challenge with people that are getting better, mastery as you want to try to climb the ladder, right? Different builds, play styles. We've referenced League. WoW is huge.
Speaking of play styles, I'd even argue that speed running is a form of PvP, just like meta
Yes.
PvP. You know,
That is true, and
ladders.
I've been listening to the speedrunning podcast, Need for Speedrunning, and they always talk about running, like races that people will do in the community. And there's the ladder, you're always trying to beat them. That's a cool one. Yeah,
There you go.
that is a cool form of competition for like a single player type of game. That's interesting. There's different characters constantly, there's new content. So if you're the type of player that wants challenge, mastery, new, PvP games might be the place to look. One I also played a lot was Smite.
Yeah,
There's like infinite gods for them to draw off of.
infinite gods.
So there always is new content.
That's another one that Paradox does. Is always new content. That's their monetization method. Is new DLC, new
You know what?
mechanics.
Let's just scrap everything and play The Sims.
You want them?
It takes.
Have you seen their DLC policy?
No. It's like $3,000 to get everything for that game. That's where it's at, right there.
Yeah, let's just
Is
get that.
Is that like the most egregious?
It's up there. I think there was like a farming simulator that
Yes.
had a lot, or
Like a train simulator.
flight simulators.
One of those
pretty bad.
simulators. It was like $10K to get everything. No, the worst one that I know of in recent years was the Diablo Immortal, the phone game.
What?
Someone mathed it out to get everything for an end game build with in-game like IRL currency. It was $110,000. And like that translated, I think, to like 5 or 6 years of the free-to-play model.
It literally hurts me.
I know.
It hurts my psychology, my
Listen,
spleen.
We're bringing up a lot of episode ideas. This we need to do free-to-play and ethics.
We really need the ethics.
We
I
need
feel
the
like.
ethics. Okay,
Yes, Victor.
let's talk about some of the games that never get boring.
Some of the games that never get boring.
Yep.
Are we talking about Civilization?
We're talking about Civilization 5.
Civilization 5 specifically, one touted as being the perfect Civilization game.
That's what I was reading. So I picked this one because this kept coming up over and over in these Reddit posts that I was looking at.
As is right.
And so you know what where are other experts at? Steam reviews.
Yeah.
So we got some funny Steam reviews here, some informative ones as well. But take it away with this first one.
December 22nd, 2023, by Training Wheels on Steam, who has 29,316.1 hours of gameplay. They write, best out of the civilizations I know of.
It's short, simple. I think it's time to take off the training wheels.
Pithy, yeah.
At $29,000.
I think that's like 3 decades worth of play. If you're doing it as a full 8-hour job.
I think I mathed it out. I think it's around like 4 years of playtime.
Like, if you never turned it off for 4 years? Like weekends?
And the game came out in 2010, so that's believable to me.
Yeah.
Right, 13 years, 4 of those, if that's like the main game,
Just no lifing.
there's
yeah,
no
right.
lifing. This next one's not as believable.
No. This
You
one.
explained this one to me, but this one comes from Pongy22.
Right.
They have on January 27th of 2023, they have 63,858.5 hours.
Good Lord.
Good Lord. And they say Civilizations is the best computer game of all time, and version 5 is the best version in my opinion. So I actually did math for this one. This was close to 8 years of playtime.
They never turned it off.
I don't think they turned. I think they were a server host. Like that's the only way, right?
Must have been. Is that how servers work? I
don't know. Does that track your playtime? Because they said they have 315.8 hours in the past 2 weeks. That's like all but 15 hours.
Dude, I only work 40 hours a week.
I know.
This is 315.
That's just leaving the game. That's a host. Like, that's not even enough time to sleep in 2 weeks.
I don't.
Yeah, because...
Can you play in your sleep?
That's 338 hours in 2 weeks. So that is 23 hours that the game wasn't on for Pongy here. So
In 2 weeks. That's half a day a week, dude.
I know.
What?
What the heck, man? So I'm
Respect,
thinking,
Pongy.
I
Respect.
think the game may have been left on.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get a review that actually had some substance here.
Some substantive argument.
So read us Natural Flirt Gamers review.
November 27th, 2023. Natural Flirt Gamer. Spent 3,435.5 hours on record. A little more realistic, I feel like.
This feels more realistic.
3,000 is more
Yeah.
realistic. Okay. After many, many hours of playing, I wanted to finally review I wanted to finally write a review of Civ 5. Although I have played other versions of the Civilization games, I keep coming back to Civ 5 as my favorite. I still feel that thrill of victory in wiping someone off the map who denounced me because they were jealous, then being called a warmonger. LOL. My one complaint is that I don't get to see my spaceship launch for the science victory. Sad face. It's a very satisfying game to play, even to just continue a battle for 30 minutes on some nights. The game still has surprises and challenges to winning from chieftain to deity. No matter how many times I have played it, I definitely recommend Civ 5.
See, that is
Poetry.
it's so good.
Yeah.
And it sums up a lot of what we've been talking about. That's why I picked this one, because it has surprises, which is the new things you're going to see each playthrough. It has more challenge, and it has, what did they say? Wiping someone off the map, like the player versus player aspect. So that emergent gameplay that we were talking about here.
Oh, yeah.
And different play styles, chieftains, deities. I don't know what that means.
Those are the difficulty levels.
Difficulties, okay. So difficulty levels. So I really like this. Thank you for that, Natural Flirt Gamer. But we got 2 games left to talk about. And this next one, I picked Dota 2, actually, as our MOBA category.
Dota
so we're
2?
going to go through these reviews real quick here, because you got to hear. I'm going to go through this one. So
Right.
December 9th, 2023, KOTL, Give Me Mana, with 8,464 hours on record. I think KOTL must be a character in the game. I don't know. But anyway, Dear Lost Souls. I have downloaded this game when I was 12. I am now 23, with no recollection of my past 10 years. My face is covered in beard and my eyes are tired and red. Stray away from this forbidden barren land. Every time I hear the sound of, your match was found, an overwhelming feeling of joy takes me off my feet, sends me into a euphoric dream that lasts for 3 minutes, up until a teammate feeds first blood, idiot sandwiches. Oh, here. No woman can make you feel as good as a set of 4 teammates working overtime to snatch victory away from a fair opponent in a 60-minute game of Dota 2. The animation are breathtaking, and the sound effects touch the deepest pockets of my soul. New updates come when you least expect them and surprise you with new features, bugs, every season. The competitive scene in Dota 2 is undeniably far more interesting, aggressive, and respectable than weenie real sports like football, rugby, and boxing. The reaction, the beauty, the skill displayed by Eternal Envy, Artsy, and DDX leave me speechless for weeks. In short, this game is a roller coaster. 10 out of 10. Would recommend if you're looking for a new purpose in life. With love, Pudge Picker.
You could say the same thing about any Paradox game, I feel like. This is valid.
It's beautiful. This is poetry.
This is
beautiful. But show us the other side of Dota 2.
December 15th, 2023, Dale the Dolphin says, with 7,077.2 hours on record, says, don't waste your life.
So I got a positive and a negative review for this.
Seems balanced.
Seems balanced. Make what you will of these reviews. But people are obviously playing them for a long time if they don't like them. The last review we have here, before we go, is Skyrim. And this is December 13th, 2021
Yes.
from TJ Henry Yoshi with 203 hours. A little lower, but this one sums it up right here. Step 1, buy the game. Step 2, download the game. Step 3, create a character. Step 4, hey you, you're awake. Step 5, YouTube. Mods you shouldn't play without. Step 6, 4 to 5 hours later, 25 mods installed. Step 7, hey you, you're finally awake. Step 8, YouTube search, realistic combat mods, Skyrim 2021. Step 9, hey you, you're finally awake. Step 10, YouTube again, Skyrim graphics overhaul. Step 11, hey you, you're finally awake. Step 12, after 90 hours played, you finally completed Unbound. Step 13, after 50 mods, NPCs with better combat, cloaks, gore effects, a nice flower overhaul, a new skill tree, trees inside towns, big titty waifus, a better, bigger, stronger, enhanced Fusrada, and after all that, you're finally allowed to play your 15 minutes of Skyrim daily just to take pictures and leave.
And that's if your mods don't crash the game.
And that's if they don't crash the game. So mods also add replay value. Wanted to get that in at the end of the hour, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes.
These are games that you will replay forever, we hope, and these are reasons to look for a game, for your forever game. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for BCTV for having us. If you have any questions, get them to us at shareddiscoveryshow@gmail.com. And as we go, thanks for joining us on episode 37 of Shared Discovery. Make sure you have some fun, be kind, play some games, and sign us off, Ron.
All right. Riches must be divided, but real wealth can be shared.
See ya. Bye.
Almost forgot.